Welcome to the Midcoast Podcast. New shows every Tuesday with your hosts, Chris, Matt, James, and Shannon.
Top of the double, keep your eye on the coast. I see you wave a mile away and don't alert, I just post. Running out of evil, so the work getting slow. And they be tripping on the render, but be loving the post. Focus where you headed, how you cope on the road. I wanna fly out the city, wanna take you somewhere clean. Know you moving on to bigger and better things. You know I'm on the ring, you know I'm on call. You looking like you getting it, gon' fall. I'm dipping on a late night, hit you with a safe.
Hey everyone, welcome to Midcoast Podcast, episode 7. Follow us. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Midcoast Podcast, and it has links to everything else there, including other streams and things like that you can check out. Hey Shannon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, hanging out, having a good day. What about you, Chris?
Doing good, man. Sunday over here, just enjoying the day. What about you, James?
I'm doing all right. I have no complaints.
All right, guys, we just wanted to start with some short-term goals and then long-term goals, and then what steps we're taking towards them. So who wants to start? You, Chris, you want to start with your short-term goals?
Is it because my height? Is that why?
Yep, it would be James if it was based on height.
Oh,
Hey, I think I'm taller than Chris, aren't
yeah, with your heels on.
I?
Got him. So short-term goals. So I was thinking about this and writing it down. And my short-term goal, and I was kind of thinking about it this year. Originally, me and my brother were trying to get into a business of some sort, and we were making it a short-term goal to start something this year. Unfortunately, COVID spiraled that out of control, and it's not a very good time to start any type of business at this point of life. So I kind of transitioned it to getting a rental property, whether it be something small or something, maybe not close to my location, but just a rental property in general. And, kind of the steps I'm taking towards that is saving a little bit more money. I also refinanced my house to help me save a little bit more money because the interest rates are so good. So those are kind of the things I was doing for my short-term goal. And I know going into Shannon as well, Shannon's looking into doing something similar and buying another property. So I thought that was a good goal. So I kind of adapted that and took it on.
Good job, Chris. Good
Yeah,
job.
thanks, man.
I guess I'll go next if you're done, Chris.
I am.
One of I guess short-term goals for me is to finish my basement. Like Chris was saying, we hope to have like a dynasty of just like rental properties. That's long term, but short term, we actually just got a house, second one. So got to fix up my basement and then get the hell out of here, move to that one, fix it up, and then see where the world takes us from there.
Wow, congratulations on the house, man. Short-term goals for me, I would say, is finishing up my kitchen project. I've been repainting cabinets for the better part of, I'd say, 2 months or something like that, almost 3. It's not fun, but that's definitely something that I want to get done. Long term, this made me think a little bit. I don't really have too many long-term goals, but the big one would probably be paying off my house in less than 30 years that I agreed to. That would be awesome to do, be in that 15 to 10-year range. Also, like these guys said, a rental property or some sort of passive income. The last one that really popped into my head more recently would be to retire earlier. That was something that I thought of when we had this for the show. I'm like, well,
So
I
what do
guess
you
that'd
think?
be really cool.
So what do you think what you could do to retire earlier? I don't know. That's kind of interesting to me, going down that subject matter.
I think I'd need about $2 million or something saved up would probably be the baseline for me. And that's going to take a lot of time and income, some sort of crazy income increase to get there. Because I think if you get to $2 million, then you could build about, I think it's like 80 grand a year on interest that you could live off of. So if I could just pile up enough money so that that interest that you get off of that money becomes your income would be pretty awesome.
When you start doing mail order cheesecakes to
Yeah,
make your millions.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, short-term goals would be to kind of get this streaming thing going. I want to learn a little bit more about doing these Twitch streams and things like that. Get a little bit more creative and making our page and our face a little bit cooler and more interesting for people to check us out. In long-term goals, I mean, I'll take James's. That retirement sounds pretty cool. I mean, I've invested a little bit of money, but in stocks and things like that, that could give you some good returns, and you can retire off of that sooner than what I think the retirement age is like 67 nowadays. And I do have a house that I hope to rent out at some point in the next few years. We'll see if I can save to afford a second house. And if I can afford 2 mortgages, then I'll rent this one out too. So that's kind of a short, long term goal as well. So we'll see how it goes.
One of the other short-term goals that came to the front earlier this week for me was I'm part of a book club. Ha ha ha! Laugh it up now.
Nerd.
Um, thank you. And we've been on the subject, or we just recently read a self help book called
James, are you like a 50-year-old lady or something? You're into cheesecaking now, and you're in a book club. Are you crocheting?
Smoking meats.
Smoking meats, man. There's not much to do during COVID. I gotta look into these other hobbies and branch out. But the book was called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which is a very good book. I definitely recommend it. Just some things to live by. But we decided to start journaling as part of our book club, with the idea of keeping your goals and pursuits in life in the forefront of your mind, or being mindful of those each day, is what I'm doing right now, working towards that long-term goal, or even some of the short-term goals that you have laid out for yourself. So we're going to try that to just see if we can implement some of the stuff in the book. So that is one of my other short-term goals that I guess I'd want to add.
Gosh, you're so good at goals, man.
Yeah, but if you got to be able to execute them, man, there's a bunch of people walking around with goals.
You should write a book of just goals that people should strive for. Hey guys, I'm not gonna do any of this, but you should do this.
There's somebody right, walking around right now, fucked up in a motherfucker. Like, he's got goals.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should write that book.
Book of goals.
Just publish it. Just goals. Nothing else.
Goals.
Doesn't
Just
tell you
go
how to achieve them. Just
The book of goals.
be a millionaire.
Have
retire
money.
early.
All right, now we make our transition to the CEOs of Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook to face Congress this week, and we have some news to report. You heard it here first on Midcoast Podcast.
I don't
Now
know
we're the
about
last one.
first,
We're the
but
last ones. You're the
you'll
last one.
hear it next week.
At some time. You'll do that at
Yeah,
some
at
time.
some point.
You heard it here at some point on Midcoast Podcast.
That one Twitch viewer is like, I heard it here.
Now, he also got it on the news.
All right, who wants to start? Go ahead, Chris. You got some news for us? Tell us about
Man,
it.
you're the host. Drop us some knowledge.
I have no knowledge, man. I was so confused. It was too much tech jargon for me. Someone's stealing some information from their customers, and the customers are pissed and selling all their stuff.
I believe that was Amazon.
I believe that's
So
all of them.
yeah, all of them, first of all. But the thing that struck me the most was the congressman only had 5 minutes to question the CEOs. So it made for like a very interesting like dialogue back between the two. It was like the person, congressman or congresswoman, would ask the question, the CEOs would try to answer. And basically, if it wasn't a yes or no answer, the congressperson would be like, stop, I only have this much time. Just you need to say yes or no.
Yeah, I
Which
thought
is
it was funny
crazy
too.
because, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I thought that was funny too, because it'd be like he would start getting into his elaborate explanation of the situation rather than saying yes or no. Kind of his politician answers, like, "Well, it's been several months. I don't quite remember, but typically how we do it," and he, yada yada, and they're like, "No, yes or no," and then they would
And
say, "Go ahead."
And some of the things they were asking them, they were like from years ago. I think one of the emails they read off was from 2010, and I don't know how you can expect anyone to remember that.
Well, what they're looking for is to not catch them in a lie, but for them to explain themselves in a yes or no fashion, because they already have the information. If you saw, like, they're like, when they asked them that question, they're like, well, if you look back at this email, it then shows that you were wrong or you did kind of sign off on it. The politicians the congressmen and women already were there, knew what they were going for, and they just wanted yes or no answers. But you're right, it's interesting dialogue because the congressperson can't really get in depth and interview process or questioning process, and then the CEOs have no rebuttal or can't go into details on their own. So you can't really get much information out of it because it's so bang bang bang, and everyone needs their 5 minutes, and you can't get in depth. And everyone has their own agenda, right? Not all the Congress people are on the same page. Where if they were all on the same page, then you would get a lot more information and details regarding it.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly what was the reason why these guys were even getting questioned by Congress in the first place?
Well, it's a monopoly, and antitrust laws is kind of what they're thinking they're breaking. So if you're familiar with history, 19 or 1800s, early 1900s, antitrust laws kind of went into effect to stop the monopolies. The big train guys, the big oil guys, the Rockefellers, the Hearsts, and so forth. They're the ones that kind of built these monopolies or trusts where they're combining a bunch of companies and controlling the power where they could pretty much strong arm other businesses to either take them over or get them out of the game so nothing new could come about. And if they did, they'll stomp them. Ford did this early on. Oil companies did it, the train industry, newspaper industry early on. And this is something new because now it's the tech industry doing it. And the laws aren't really written in the tech world. So rather than always being a good of some sort, like a newspaper or oil, this is information. So these conglomerates, Apple, Google, Facebook owns the rights to information, in which the information is us, and they could sell off the information or they could use the information to either do harm or benefit themselves. So a lot of these companies, what they're actually doing is using the information they're acquiring and either making new products because they know that, let's just say Matt's company is making this great product everyone's interested in. Well, they have all your information because you're using AWS to store all your data, and now Amazon's going to steal it and make their own version of Matt's company because they have the money and the power to back it. So this is kind of what's happening.
That was a great transition, Chris. I know you heard that one story about the book business. At one point, a congressperson, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, asked Jeff Bezos if he remembered a situation where there was this book business and basically Amazon started competing with that book business and kind of price gouging. So they actually, no, they didn't start off price gouging, but they started with a lower price. So basically, the entirety of that book business stopped basically within that month and they made no more money. And then once that business was done, then they started price gouging. So they raised the price to an extraordinary amount.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a family brand textbook company that was buying and selling textbooks and different styles of books. And what was happening was it was taking a big portion of Amazon's business away because they were used books and they were just kind of refurbishing them and or getting newer books at a cheaper rate. So they're passing that on to their customers and they had 5-star reviews, great, customer service. And it was just a mom and pop shop that was running out of Amazon. So originally, Amazon started taking book titles away from them or not posting those book titles. So they're top sellers and only Amazon had the rights to it. And then out of nowhere, because they were taking a huge portion of the book sales from Amazon, out of nowhere they just killed the company without any warning or anything like that. And the thing I read and listened to was she sent the lady that owns the company or was one of the owners sent like 500 emails to Amazon and got like no valid response. And Jeff Bezos in it was like, "Well, I'm gonna reach out to her." It's like, well, she emailed you. You haven't reached out to her yet. Clearly, it was taking a big enough portion of your business that you weren't okay with it, or whoever his higher up in that division was not okay with it. And they're all running algorithms in the background, right? They're not dumb. They have software guys producing these algorithms or these software platforms where they know that this person's selling this much goods. Okay, Amazon's going to buy into that good and then start selling it on their own and price gouge them so they can start getting that, you know, majority of the sell. They're running all these programs in the background. It's all smarts.
yeah, it's crazy that they can do that. Just be the place where these new businesses can go and
Mhm.
grow, but also be the place where it's like their main competitor if Amazon really wants to be.
Well, it's like Costco, right? Costco is a wholesale company, so they buy huge crates of things. So just think of the toilet paper, right? They could buy these mass crates of toilet paper, so they're selling these jumbo boxes for cheaper than if you go to Ralph's. You're getting 30 toilet papers for $6, or you go to Ralph's and get six for $6. It's the same thing with Amazon. So me and Shannon could start a company and we could buy a bunch of keychains and they start selling like crazy, but we can't buy that big of a number of them where Amazon could go buy 10,000 keychains and hold that inventory because it's nothing to them and they could only make 5-10 cents off of it and they're going to make a killing because they already bought them at a cheap rent or cheap rate so they can make a killing off of it. And I have a prime example of this. So I just bought speakers for my tower and my buddy works for this company and they have employee discounts, right? So the employee discounts set at one rate, and then big corporations rates another rate, and then me and you, the average consumer, is another rate. But what they do is for all their distributors, they make sure the distribution charges it at the same rate. So let's just say it's $100, right? So if Matt buys it and sells it on his website. James buys it, you buy it, and you're all selling it on your website. You have to charge $100 no matter what. So there's no competition. If somebody stumbles upon it, it's the same price across the board. So I stumbled upon Amazon. Amazon was selling it for 75% off because they're making a profit still off of it. They're making like $5-10 because it's just $5-10 above their rate, but they're messing over Matt, James, and you because you guys are selling on your website for $100. So they're doing these things where they're trying to squeeze out the small websites, the small mom and pop shops, or even the sellers on their own website because they want to maximize their revenue.
What do you guys think about that, James and Matt?
Makes me think of an episode of John Oliver when he talked about this or that strategy or technique of the business. He's like, literally, Amazon is cutting their own throat and then drowning their opponents in their blood by doing that. Just they're assuming that hit and taking their hit to kill that business. Whatever business it may be. In that example, that's just the book business. I think it's pretty messed up, but it does not surprise me considering American greed, and I think it ties into a bigger issue that happens is these corporations do these types of things that are bad, and they do not have the individual's interest in mind, right? They're only out to get more money or to get the money from us, but we are the ones that make up the corporations. Like it's kind of crazy, and it's just unfortunate that that stuff happens.
So I think what the government's going to do after this is they're going to start looking into or come out with a report, but they're going to look at re-justifying or retooling antitrust laws so it's not as bad as what it is now.
So at one point, a congressperson was reading an email from the Facebook CEO. I'm forgetting his name right now, but they
Zuckerberg?
were
Mark Zuckerberg.
yes, thank you. Mark Zuckerberg said, "Yeah, that was a good acquisition of that company, Company X or whatever. It'll be a while before we can afford to buy Google." What do you think of that?
Oh wow! If they owned Google, that would be that's definitely a monopoly because then they have all of our information. They already post ads and stuff if you mention something on your Facebook page as you're scrolling. So they already have technology that searches your phone, maybe even your voice,
Target
and
ads.
target it exactly. And I've searched something on my phone and it pops up on my fiance's phone of me searching, car parts or whatever. So I mean, they already own a huge part of that market, and their website is built for, obviously they get ad revenue and things like that, and they're already doing it even without Google. Well, maybe they're kind of in cohorts, I don't know, but they already are powerful, and I can imagine if they acquired Google.
Well, I thought an interesting thing, kind of staying on the Facebook realm, was when they acquired, or they tried to acquire Snapchat and they did acquire Instagram, how one of their business tactics to make it a cheaper rate or to threaten them was they're like making it known that they were coming out with their version of it and that they were going to do it better so they could get, Instagram and, Snapchat didn't end up selling it to them, but Instagram did. And even the congresswoman said like, hey, Instagram's founder was so threatened by you guys that that's one of the reasons he sold to you guys was because you said you're going to make your version, you made it known, and it, it's pretty much strong arming a company to either sell to you so you could get their IPs and their technology and their users, and or they're going to make their own and try to beat you out. And it's like, what do you do in that point?
Yeah, and that's real messed up because that's just another person that's set their goals like James does, and they're achieving their goals by building this site like Instagram. And then, I mean, they're still making their money, and they probably got bought out for whatever billion, but it's still they're cut out from what they started, and that's their baby. A lot of people, create a business, a company, and that's their baby. They've been doing it for many years, and now they don't have it anymore. But we'll see. A lot of them do start other businesses with the money that they get. So hopefully the people like them are doing all right. And so yeah, Snapchat, good for them to just say, "Nah, I got it."
So I guess my question for you guys is, what would you want see done now that they went to the Congress, they interviewed these CEOs, and you could see, in my point of view, my kind of summary is there is corruption there, there is monopoly, they're trying to be greed, there is greed there, and there are strong arming small businesses, and it's kind of a common occurrence, and there was a lot of instances and recalls during this time. So what do you guys want to see done now that all this information is brought more publicly?
One of the main things you mentioned is the small businesses. Like, I'd like to see those guys succeed because one day those could be the big platforms that we're all using. And it sucks that like Facebook and these other companies are monopolizing and we only go to them. I think that's the main thing for me. Another big piece is just to protect our information a little bit better and maybe not sell it to as many people or try to monopolize our information as well so much. And that goes for all of those tech companies.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well, Shannon. It comes to, for me, I'd say the protection piece, to protect the small businesses as well as us as individuals and our data. It also would be nice if they could do something about how they're taxing these companies and whatnot, because there's a lot of money there being traded around, and I feel like that money could be used, or taxes on those money on that money could be used or put pumped back into our system to some degree. Maybe even like small business loans or whatever, that kind of stuff to help out with protecting.
Yeah, I feel like these companies, and they probably already do donate, but I feel like they could donate a lot more than they
Yeah, they
do.
do. They said that in the Congress that he helps over 1 point something million small businesses start up at their smart business outreach programs and stuff like that. So I guess kind of the counter argument is if you dismantle and destroy these businesses, or put, I guess, put more laws onto effect to go against them, is you're going to take away jobs, right? Because they employ a crap ton of people. You're going to take away maybe their small business outreach programs. You're going to So the counter argument is, well, those things will start ceasing to exist. Is that more beneficial than these monopoly, or is the monopolies more beneficial with giving all those jobs and outreach programs, or taxing them and splitting up the division and hopefully creating more global wealth is better? It's kind of a give or take, right? If you break them up, jobs are going to go away.
I don't necessarily see us putting a few more restrictions on like things like data as well as protecting the small businesses as those companies losing manpower and losing people and the ability to support small businesses and drive their own jobs. I think it'll just be a few more hurdles that they will have to go through just to protect us. But I don't necessarily see that taking away from job opportunity.
I don't need to be protected. They can have my information, send me ads about stuff I can't afford. Go ahead and do it, Google. That's fine with me.
Every time Matt drives past a pond in Florida, there's going to be alligators. Send them a product for alligator spray to keep the alligators away.
I like alligator jerky. You heard it here first, Google. I love me some alligator jerky. And Amazon, go ahead and send it in bulk.
I
Bulk
would also
100
jerky.
pounds of jerky.
I would
Boom,
also
right.
say that we should probably do something to protect ourselves as well, regardless of what happens with Congress. I don't think their tactics or their methods are going to change at all. If anything, it's going to get even stronger. Look no further than when you wake up. I just get so angry about ads because they're just coming at you every day trying to take your money. Like, it's just unfortunate. But it's not going anywhere. We got to be able to look at it ourselves and decide what we want, and not
Oh
not get that alligator jerky when it
man,
shows up or scrolls
those
across
tar-
your screen.
but those Target ads are so creepy, man. Like, you'll be talking about it, and it's something that you never buy. You'll be like, "Oh man, alligator jerky is a great example," and you're like, "What? I got an ad for alligator jerky? I've never even had alligator jerky." We
Let me
talked
check my
about,
Facebook right
yeah,
now. Let's see.
and alligator jerky. It's just
Yeah,
so
one
creepy.
I'd say, yeah, Target got me, not, well, a targeted ad from Target, which is kind of funny. When we moved into our new house, baby baby stuff started coming through.
Uh,
Like, Target's like, y'all getting married? Baby coming soon?
baby,
Not yet,
pre-wedding,
Target. You're a little early.
pre-wedding.
You're a little early, Target.
These ads, like, well, we know they work,
Yeah.
but thinking about how like these companies are paying in and paying for these ads, like they must work like crazy.
Well,
People,
once they're selling us, right? They're selling every time you search alligator jerky, they're selling that to an alligator jerky company, so they can promote it. You know,
Alligator jerky.
That sweet and sour alligator jerky. It's so good once it hits
So
the
good.
lips. But
Okay.
they're selling that information off in bulk, and that's where they're making the majority of their profits. The Amazons and or whatever, all the other companies,
Google,
Facebook.
yeah, Facebook, yeah. My question is for you guys, have you ever been on TikTok?
Yeah, that's a good segue, I think, because TikTok's a outside influence that's buying the information or wanting your information to sell the information, right? It's a Chinese company. It's actually China's government's actually involved in it, where they're taking global information and they're putting it out there. I've the only time I've been seeing TikTok videos is on Instagram, where it's like it's on TikTok and they show the videos. That's the only time I've been kind of exposed to TikTok. I've never had the app, never made an account or anything like that in regards to that.
Do you think, and I don't know, but do you think Facebook and apps like that are big in China, or do they have their own apps?
They're limited, so I have a lot of friends or coworkers that worked and live in China, and they're limited to searches. They don't have Amazon. They have their version of Facebook. They have their version of Amazon. They have all their own versions. They don't like outside influences in China because it is controlled. It's a communist country. They want to control their people. So what do you think about them trying to ban it? Because it is a foreign company that's doing the same thing as the Googles, the Facebooks, where they're taking our information and reselling it or selling it where it's not as protected, right? Because in theory, Facebook and Google has privacy acts where you could actually turn off settings and switch on settings, where TikTok is a whole other entity from a foreign government that's putting it out there.
Typical America, scared of what other people are capable of doing when they're doing the same exact thing. So whatever. Take it, China. Enjoy.
Enjoy the videos of us dancing to TikTok songs.
Yeah, I'm okay with them taking it away. Probably because I
I
don't
mean,
use it or understand it.
We're not young
what
anymore.
when you think about, I don't use it, right? But when you think about all of the information that Google, Facebook, all of these companies have, to think about it in a foreign government's hands can kind of be pretty scary. Not that saying Google and Amazon and all these other companies that are in the US aren't doing the exact same thing, but it's, I don't know. I don't know. For me, in the hands of China, it's just a little bit
Yeah.
scarier, a
I
little
Yeah,
bit
I
more scary.
I agree with that too, because you don't know what they're doing with that information. You don't know what anyone's doing with that information, but it's a foreign power, and typically they're not for America. Typically, right?
it's
I
enough.
So
guess I guess for me it's like the lesser of two evils is the American companies.
It's
having it,
enough. It's enough to have them doing shady shit at home. We don't need it from abroad as well.
yeah, it's
Anybody
pretty.
stealing our identities or anything from halfway across the world, I'd rather have it in my backyard instead.
You go into something else. Is some of these videos are like young kids doing provocative things. It shouldn't even be out there anyways. Where's these parents half the time? That's what my question is.
These
That
parents
parent.
are most of these parents. Yeah, exactly. They think because it's a cute little singy song, but like there's video, especially audio is already bad enough, but when you add video to it, anything can happen on video. Anything inappropriate can happen on video. So for people to just be like, just put it in front of their child and just say, all right, go ahead, entertain yourself, and just think they're just gonna dance and do choreographed stuff that's not inappropriate is just absolutely it's dumb to think that nowadays. I think.
I would say if your child has a phone, how would you know if your child has downloaded TikTok or not? Like you might not know that and they might just have it and they might be doing these things without you even knowing.
That's true.
It's possible, but I think any parent it shows concern because they know things like that are out there. So if your kid is already hiding something from you, that's already troublesome. If they think that it was not inappropriate, then it's inappropriate. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. If they're hiding it from their parent already and they're secretly recording or watching videos in their room, they already know it's wrong. So a parent should kind of hopefully be more involved in their kid's life and be able to either get that out of them or let them know, hey, this is not an appropriate app for you.
I agree with you. I think they need to be able to have that conversation and say like, "Hey, here's why I don't want you using this app and I don't want to see you doing this, this and this on this app until
Yeah,
you're 18, I guess."
I think it's all communication. It's all talking. It's and being it. not an absentee parent. You know, you got to be part of your child's life and set those rules and boundaries, and hopefully they make good judgment calls.
There's a kid that my fiance used to watch, and he is, I think, 7, and he has TikTok. And my fiance is like, no, because we have a 6-year-old, and we're like, we don't want that in our home because he's obviously going to be sharing it with him and things like that. And she actually went through his phone and went on his own TikTok and saw that he had like nude images of himself on TikTok. So it's definitely dangerous, and every parent out there should be aware of that.
It's gross, son. Oh man, that's terrible. Not looking forward to that if I'm gonna become a parent anytime soon in the next 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Whew. I
Oh,
Okay.
have to get married first, man. I gotta get married and then I gotta bake the baby, right? Doesn't it
You
bake the
take
don't
like
baby.
time?
have to get married.
Yes, you do. Don't be another one of those guys.
Yeah.
What about you, Shannon?
Society has put
Shannon
the
got
pressures
engaged.
on
Congrats to
me.
him.
Yeah,
I
dude.
sure
Yeah.
did.
Congratulations to you.
Hey guys, it's been an hour and 9 minutes. I was wondering when someone was gonna say something.
I was waiting
I
to throw it in there.
don't. We're waiting for the good segue. You know, we're a good podcast here. We got to make sure
That's
that it's
awesome.
appropriate.
How'd you do it?
So she thought it was a photo shoot. I have a buddy that is a food photographer, and I told her that he's trying to expand his portfolio. And so we went to the Peace Gardens in the Rose Garden in Minneapolis and took some pictures. About halfway through the photo shoot, I bent the knee. That's how it happened.
Oh
Okay,
Nice.
wow.
Kaepernick, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Food. He was
Take
a food critic.
Food
photographer,
photographer.
Okay.
and
Okay.
now he's
For-
shooting people.
Don't put it that way.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Shooting
Want me to tell you
people.
how I did it, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we went on a cruise.
Take away from
And,
Shannon's glory. Jeez.
yeah, not really. I don't know. It's similar actually, to be honest. We went on a cruise and we docked in Belize, and she was with me. We were kind of looking at rings and things like that. I was like, "Oh, that one's cool. That one's cool." And then we both kind of pointed to one ring and we're like, "Oh, wow, that one looks good." And like at the same time, so I was like, "Let's get it." And she kind of was like, "Really? Oh my god!" You know how girls are. So I was like, "Yeah, let's get it. Put it on credit." That was a bad idea, but anyways.
Finance.
Yeah, God, like 20 something percent. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done. It's paid off now, but it was horrible. So we got the ring, and then I put it away, and then like two nights after we bought the ring, we went to go. Those photographers on the stairs and stuff. They take pictures. So I kind of smuggled the ring into my pocket, and then I was like, babe, let's get a picture. Blah blah blah. And she's like, okay, cool. And then I kind of just whipped it out and was like, hey, will you marry me? And then the guy was snapped a couple pictures. I didn't buy them, of course, but snapped a couple
Oh,
pictures. You know how
You're
it is.
awful.
You took a picture of the picture? Yeah.
wow. Your engagement picture, you couldn't pay the 5.99 for the picture,
I bought the ring, dude. Okay.
10.99.
Hey, I feel you.
That's why Shannon got a meat photographer. It was
it
cheaper.
just keeps going down.
Gonna get a
Nah,
snake.
he was actually my buddy. We went to the same gym, so he did it for free.
Ah, that's cool.
That's awesome.
What's his name, man? He's gonna be famous now.
Yeah, Instagram, Dave Paul Schmidt Photography or something like that.
But he only does food.
So
Yeah,
you
he
gotta be
does
eating,
it.
and he's gonna zoom in on the and blur you out of the background. That
Really
looks
come
great.
take pictures of my smoked meats.
Hmm.
Yes.
What are you
No,
gonna
but
name your?
congratulations. So I have no idea how I would propose. More power to both of you guys. I think I get psyched out by it a little bit. I'm like, I got to do something memorable, but at the same time, I'm also like, I bought. I'm buying a ring. That's memorable, isn't it?
I got a question for you, James. Are you gonna get a lab grown ring or a blood diamond?
Ooh.
You can get
Um,
non-blood diamonds. You know? What does it have to be a blood diamond?
I don't know if it's a blood diamond, isn't it kind of like more like a philosopher's stone, that I'm giving to her? No, she actually wants pearls. So I if we do get diamonds, we probably can get the lab grown ones, but that would be more like a add-on feature to them. The main thing she wants is a pearl. So my
So you're
wallet
gonna
is
go to
there.
Oyster Bar and just start cracking them open, and,
Yep.
and hopefully you find them.
Looking
She's
for
like,
that
oh
ring.
my god, like, we're engaged now, I guess.
yep.
Oh, that'd
Right
be cool. She got like a black pearl or like a pink pearl.
I want a platinum band or
You
whatever.
know,
Black,
you gonna wear it?
black platinum. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm gonna wear it, man. I'm gonna put it on one of these fingers,
No,
right?
you're
This one.
not. I don't feel like you will.
What?
Maybe a
So,
rubber one. I don't know,
so
dude.
funny story. When I was down on the knee, I whipped the ring out and I had it, and I forgot which hand I was supposed to put it on.
You're like,
So I waited for her to stick out her hand. I was like, damn it, which hand?
you don't remember the Beyonce song? James knows that one.
As he puts the wrong hand towards the camera.
Yeah, probably. I don't remember.
I feel like it if put a ring on it.
When are you gonna propose, Chris?
To who?
When he finds the right guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, it's
You'll
2020.
see rings on all of his left hand.
oh,
Oh man, you guys are mean.
stupid.
Single life, bro. Quarantine single life. It's like tough world for us single people right now.
Don't you have like Tinder or something? COVID Tinder?
COVID Tinder, just coughing on people, getting sick. Everything's closed in California. What are you gonna do if you get a match? Hey,
New thing on Tinder. You show your test results as negative and haven't dated.
Ooh, there you go.
there you go.
It's been
That's
3 days since you
your
got
pro.
tested. All right, she's good to go.
That's your profile pic. Your main one is your test result. You hold your test
Nick.
results with with a valid date and ID, and yeah, you go on a date. You're clean. Well, ending terms. Congratulations, Shannon, on the engagement on that.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. I guess that's good. Good for you, man.
Matt's not happy with his engagement, clearly.
Open the jail. Ooh, I can't believe
Locked up.
watching him walk right into the cell in front of me. I watched him do it. It's like, Shannon, you sure? He's like, yeah, man. Close the door behind me. Uh, oh no, that's awesome though. I'm gonna get me a wife too someday.
Me too.
Well, don't make her a slave like this guy,
Oh,
the Samoan chief.
Uh oh.
You gotta talk about this guy, man. Samoan chief Joseph Mata Mata was sentenced to, what is it, 13 years for slavery and keeping people locked up, threatening them, all types of stuff, man. So he promised 13 unnamed victims that he would be able that they'll be able to come to New Zealand and work and send money back to their families in Samoa. And then he placed them behind walls, chain link fences, all types, kind of imprison them, and then force them to pick fruit, and he would keep all the profits from what they did. And one teen escaped but was caught and then tied up and was assaulted as a punishment. Mata Mata was sentenced, like I said, it was actually 11 years, and he got 10 counts of human trafficking, 13 counts of dealing slaves, and he was also fined $122,000, which is, it translates to, I did the American numbers. He has to pay reparations to those victims. And it all started in 1994. He started hosting families from his native village in Samoa with promises of money to send back. His first victim was a brother and sister, aged 17 and 15. And like I said, the brother, he would work in the orchard picking fruit and things like that. And the sister would cook and clean and take care of the children. And neither of them were paid by him. And they weren't allowed to obviously move around and explore the city or do anything with any freedom. So he was holding them down. And the other 11 victims ranged from ages 11 to 53, and many victims were deported back to Samoa due to um, Mata Mata not preparing their work visas correctly. So, and then some people said that they made like $7 a day. I think one said they made like $500 over like a year period. And his victims, many of his victims were ashamed, obviously, to return to their home with no money because they were like, "Yeah, we'll take care of you." And the family was like, "What the hell? What'd you go over there for if you didn't come back with any money?" So that's kind of like the gist of the whole thing. Do you guys have anything else that I missed that you think is important to that story?
Yeah, I think you said it in the beginning too, but the guy was a chief in Samoa too, so he had influence and power, which is like another reason like these people might feel trapped and like they can't get out of that situation that they're in. Because at first you would think, well, why didn't they just run away? But like you said, like they caught the guy, they tied him and beat him up. So it's like anyone else seeing that is like, oh, I'm not gonna run away. So it's scary.
Well, I think society, and especially, American society is not familiar that slavery is still going on and still prevalent in the not so much in the U.S. It's going on in the U.S., but globally, it's really a prevalent thing. And a prime example was my cousin and my brother. My cousin's a college age individual, and my brother's mid 30s. We're getting in a heated debate that slavery still exists, and my cousin would firm believe, college educated, just graduated college, that slavery doesn't exist anymore, and it's still really prevalent in the world. It's still so I found these two cool websites, and you guys could check them out. Theworldcounts.com. So it says slavery still exists, and it has an ongoing count of how many slaves are being generated every second, like how many people, how much money is going to it, how many slaves they believe are globally. And it's an $8 billion industry. It's huge. So some of the stats were there's an estimated 20 to 30 million slaves across the world, but it's tough to tell because it's a hidden population. 90% of them are women and children, typically sex slaves. Another crazy. There's 161 countries affected by it. 1.2 million children are enslaved through forced labor or exploitation. And this is an interesting fact. In 1850, a cost of a slave in today's money was 40K, and now today a modern slave is only 90 US dollars. So to own a slave is $90 now. So there's slavery is really global still, and I think like my cousin instance, people don't believe it, or people are naive and don't want to believe that it's still something going on, unfortunately.
I know, but I mean, I've seen videos of modern day slavery, and it's just unfortunate that many of the people you see, well, the ones that kept seeing was African slaves and being enslaved by other Africans, and you're like, come on, man. And then of course, like you mentioned, the blood diamond. That's definitely, obviously, the I would think that's the most profitable form of slavery, are those blood diamond folks. And then, well, I guess the sex slaves got to be up there too, between those two. And it's unfortunate to see that this is still going on. Selfish people. We talk about selfish people this whole podcast, and it's just in a different way, but still very selfish people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's kind of the common thing of this podcast. It's selfishness, either harming other individuals or for your own game.
Greed, greed's a motherfucker, man. Stuff is really bad. And I mean, look no further than anything wrong or anything bad that you see. There's usually a greedy motherfucker standing right next to him, or at least in the shadows, pulling the strings. You just find out, like, oh my, they were doing what? And it was all to this one guy, huh? Just like, oh, it's crazy. So
And the unfortunate thing is that people know, because this is a completely different subject, but with all the people tied to Clinton and their sexcapades and going to his islands and all types of stuff. I was just reading real quick on that.
Epstein.
Right,
mhm.
Epstein, and
Yeah,
it's just talking about his island and having all these minor girls pretty much kidnapped from their home and going to these islands and doing all types of stuff, and it's happening, and people act like it's not happening.
Did you guys watch Smallville? That show?
I did.
Yes, he did.
I watched it too, but
Mute.
the one girl actually was in part of like a sex slave where she was like recruiting people. I think it was the blonde
Allison
chick.
Mack. Allison
Yeah,
Mack. Yeah.
that's crazy.
I
It's like
remember that story.
you're famous, and you're trying to convince these girls to be sex slaves and trafficking. It's nuts, and that's in the U.S. here.
Yeah, that's Samoan Chief though, man. Hopefully he gets what he deserves.
I thought he got a really slap on the wrist. 11 years, I think, what I read. I think Matt
Yeah,
said 13. It was 11 years,
yeah.
but he could have got 25 years per instant. So it was 13. So 13 times 25 is like his maximum sentence would have been. So they gave him a pretty minor sentence.
They probably had influence there. What happens to rich people in America when they get in trouble? Like, come
That's true.
on.
Nothing.
You
You
get
know, you know what I mean?
Martha Stewart jail.
You and me, we're going away for years and forgot.
Who was the lady that they paid off the college to send their kid there?
Oh,
Didn't
Ooh,
that was
she get like just
Actress.
house arrest or something
yeah,
or
that was
6 months?
the Full House lady.
Yeah.
where they photoshopped her in like the row, pretending to row because on the row team that was so bad.
Didn't she? She fought that for a while though,
She
right?
did. She said that she didn't do anything wrong, but there's so much evidence against her. But yeah, I think she only got house arrest or something like that, slap on the wrist. But a bunch of people got fired at SC and colleges around the world, or not around the world, around the country.
I wonder what her daughter's grades were like if she just was a
She just
poor
partied.
student.
She was a
Huh?
bad student. She just partied and she got kicked out of school.
Uh,
She was a
so she was
partier.
already at SC or a different school, and then
She
she
was
wanted to
already
go back.
she was already at SC. She got into SC, but she had bad grades, everything, and they just got her in through the row team.
Mm,
So
sounds fun.
just shows you how sports is lopsided in schools, right? That it's easier for somebody that's athletic to get in than
let's not
educated.
let's not talk about that, okay? Because that helped me, okay? Don't get my parents in trouble, all right? Hush your damn mouth, mother. Coach Battle was pulling for me. Come on now, we need you hit. We need you a nose tackle. Let's go. And now, and now we have bad advice with Shannon.
All right, guys. Bad advice of the week is if you have a significant other, always get down on one knee and never propose so she doesn't expect it for when you really propose. That's the bad advice of the week. James, that's for you.
Just always pretending to tie your shoe. You're wearing slippers. You're just like going down.
Just
Like, what?
reach in your
again,
pocket
got
for
you
no
again.
reason.
Always saying your back hurts. Ah, my back. Let me go on one knee right now.
Or just have an empty ring box at all times. What is
And
that
put
in your
pin,
pocket?
Keep
put
my
pins in it.
Kleenexes. To blow
Would
my
Katie
nose
kill
real quick.
you or not?
She probably would kill me if it was in front of a lot of people or something like that. That seems like that would be wrong.
And she's mad shy too. She'd be so embarrassed.
Just do it in front of like if there was like a lot of people at a basketball game in front of the whole crowd. Psych! Yeah, it's funny, right? That would be
Some
terrible.
tickets. Would you go to this concert with me or something
Yeah.
random like that?
Uh,
Bad
that's
advice.
bad advice. Yeah,
That is bad advice.
they're bad.
Hey, Chris, next week, we should do a bad advice, good advice, where Chris does the bad advice, or I do the bad advice and Chris does the good advice.
All I would say is don't do what Shannon says.
Thanks for listening, guys, to the Midcoast Podcast. Again, you can find us on Instagram, Midcoast Podcast. You can find us on Podbean, freaking YouTube, your mom's favorite website, all of it. Get at
Y'all be
us.
higher than most. Top of the double, keep your eye on the coast. I see you wave a mile away and don't alert, I just post. Running out of evil, so the work getting slow. And they be tripping on the render, but be loving the post. Focus where you headed, how you cope on the road. I wanna fly out the city